Today we're going to talk about outrage, because today's chapter is Rita Skeeter's Big Scoop. Which sort of makes me just want to go but apparently it makes most people want to do that. But not always for the same reasons. Before we begin, I am going to post a link to a Vlogbrothers video about our addiction to outrage, because that is the sort of big source that I'm using. It's at least helped me coherently look at this chapter and find out what about this chapter makes me despair so much. So I definitely want to give credit where credit is due on that one. And it's a pretty cool video. It's a pretty cool channel. The thing is that while we might feel outrage for this article because we know Hagrid and Rita Skeeter's got it wrong with just how much she's stereotyping this poor man, that is not the only outrage actually being presented here. Rita Skeeter is a very popular author, it seems, in the magical world. There are certainly people who recognize her as being the type of person that's a mudraker, who wants just the dirt and nothing else, which is what we've seen hinted throughout all of this book so far. But I mean, she gets enough attention and people read her. And a big portion of that is simply because we, as a society, as a Western society, enjoy seeing other people get torn down. Unfortunately, if you look at things like our magazines and even some of our newspapers, a whole lot of it is we want to see the famous people make mistakes. And this doesn't even have to be famous people, it just has to be somebody that she can really get her claws into. And it's going to be interesting to sort of see the rise and fall of Dumbledore when we get to that point, but we're seeing it certainly a miniature in this moment. But we're seeing how everyone's willing to buy into it. Even if it means making things up. Which is exactly what some of the Slytherins are doing. Okay, it is true that Draco was hurt by the hippogriff. Not that it's ever going to get mentioned that he was at fault in that moment, and Hagrid was actually very clear with the instructions he provided of the respect you have to provide for this creature. And I mean, the Flubberworm comment is a complete lie. And again, there might be a minority who can recognize that, but the majority just wants to see somebody else take punishment. You want to just get angry at somebody. And if that somebody's completely innocent, well, that's beside the point. And it's even easier to do this through our media because we can strawman them. Straight up, you can have a false image being given to you, and you can take that image at face value and just drag it through the mud. And if it really is proved later on that, in fact, this was incorrect, you don't even have to make your apologies, because, oh, I was just trusting this trusted news media, instead of, you know, logically thinking for myself. And it's frustrating because it really isn't about anything in this. You can see that Rita just wants to tear somebody down. She's not honestly concerned about Hagrid's bloodline. Because immediately, she's willing to turn on Hermione. We can see that coming. All the students there are aware of it. Hermione certainly is, but she's willing to step up. And say, she can do what she wants. Because I'm not backing down. Because she is aware that half of what's being said is not true, and the other half is certainly being twisted beyond belief. In fact, the interesting thing is, Rita's careful about how she does this. We are aware that she is the Beetle that we saw in that previous scene, which means she's aware who Hagrid was talking to. So why isn't she going after Madame Maxime? Because Madame Maxime has power, and she can defend herself. Harry, up to this point, hasn't been able to defend himself. Hagrid certainly doesn't have the power to. Hermione's not going to. Rita is aware people want outrage. But she's not always going for the people that are the bigger ones that maybe do have to fall. With Ludo Bagman, if you actually carefully watch what she says, she's not willing to do anything to Ludo Bagman until he's already been ousted. Specifically, what her wording is disgraced ex-head of the department. She claims she already knows things about Ludo Bagman that would ruin him. Well, even if that's true, then why hasn't she yet? Because he's in a position of power where he can defend himself. She's going after the weak targets because people are enjoying it, and she's going to be able to keep doing that. If she suddenly went after a big target, she'd get squashed for the beetle that she was. So we're aware now that Rita is looking for that outrage and in fact feeds off of it. But is there a positive outrage? Is there a righteous anger that we can actually point to here? And I think there is. I think we just have to be careful about it. You have to make sure that you're using that outrage in a positive manner. The Golden Trio specifically go to Hagrid to reassure him that they don't care. Dumbledore's doing the same thing, showing him letters saying, no, people like you anyways. This is not what's important to them. They're using that anger to fuel their compassion. And while they might be aiming to get Reader Skeeter down a peg, they're not willing to throw everyone under the bus for it. And again, their anger does seem to be justified. The Slytherins basically admit that they made things up for this interview. And Skeeter has pretty much admitted that she's just looking for the dirt and not trying to build anything positive. So I think if outrage can be a motivation for positive action, then it's a good thing. But if it is only going to cause either negative action or non-action of any type, then we need to tone it back. Because there's no use being angry if you're not going to do something about it, even if you're angry about the right things. Stand up for people when they're getting stepped on, especially if the person stepping on them is wrong. Especially if they're just doing it so they can get a few more people reading the paper. Because that's not what's important. Muckraking shouldn't be our focus. Improvement of this world should be. But for a lot of people, Skeeter included, it's improvement of the self. If I make more money by ruining somebody else, that's just the way it's going to be. What becomes important then is for us to not be like her, or the Slytherins in this moment. Tell the truth when the truth truly matters. Show compassion to people. Understand that they have different viewpoints. They come from different places. They understand different things. But be willing to communicate when those differences get involved. Don't just walk away. And I think the trio can do it in this moment. And Dumbledore's showing them the way. So no, I don't think we just ruin the people we're angry at. Even if we really want to squash that beetle. Resist and make the world better. AKA trap her in a bottle and turn her in for being an illegal animagus. Rita, you breaking the rules. And you're not doing it to help your friend or to keep yourself alive, since you're innocent of a crime you haven't had a proper trial for. You're doing it so you mudrake. And I'm not supporting you in that one. Okay, so that's one more video out of the way, and we're chugging towards the second task now. Come on, Harry, you can do it. But first, yes, let's get over the pride issue and, you know, actually get down to solving that egg. Pride will be your downfall, but maybe it'll be Rita. Okay, I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you do too, and I'll see you next time.